crowd is going wild. Welcome back to another episode of the Benchwarmers, the alternative commentary collective Benchwarmers podcast, live from the Export Beer Garden studio. My name is Joel Harrison. I'm joined here with Keezy the Mad Bastard. Keezy, how's it going?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you very much. Actually, yeah, if you could call me Keezy for the rest of the podcast, because there are two Chris's on this three-person podcast already. So, but happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you here, not as always, because Ben Boyce normally here, Storm Hitoa not here anymore. We've joined, though, with Chris Reive from the NZ Herald, a bit of credibility finally, which is great to have on the podcast. So thank you for coming in today, Chris.
Anytime, man. It's just like the 15th man on the bench gets up,
Yeah.
still got his trackies on, checks into the game.
Yeah.
A little bit confused as to why everyone's stopping, but
Are you
we'll
saying
see how it goes.
that this podcast is garbage time, basically, because you're getting a run? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it seems a bit like that, doesn't it? I'm the third or fourth choice? So, yeah.
It is New Zealand's number one basketball podcast. I think that's a fact as well. And it's been a big week in the NBA. Kawhi's back. AD is playing incredible. Floyd Mayweather wants to buy a team. So let's kick things off with the starting five.
This is the starting five for the Benchwarmers.
Y'all ready for this?
It was a big week in the NBA, but we're going to kick things off this week with the NBL as the Breakers. They've had a great start to the season, but they came out with a bit of a controversial social media move, bit of a marketing ploy to almost throw off Corey Webster, former Breaker. He won a few titles, I believe, with the Breakers as well. And they put up a billboard with his face, comparing it to the pussy emoji. Did you see this, Chris?
Yeah, of course I did. I thought it was kind of funny, but just as a fan, like, you've seen what the Breakers are doing these days. They're trying to really push that social media side of things. And when you're doing that, you can sort of toe the line a little bit. And,
Yeah.
I found it funny. Corey Webster certainly didn't.
Well, I mean, I think the problem is, right, Corey Webster, who, as I'm sure Chris, as a journalist, you probably dealt with him over the years, when he's on form and people are saying positive things, it's all good, but there has been some dicey moments in his career. He's not going to take kindly to this because he played for the Breakers for frickin' forever. You do it anyway, and this is the thing where you're towing a fine line between being clever and just being a bit of a dick about it. It is funny. I laughed at it, and then I was like, haha, oh, they probably shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? Like, just a bit too, like, you got to respect the guy. He's won titles with us, you know what I mean? Just a bit more respect, and I'm not surprised he blew up.
It was interesting because I saw the players, like a few of the Breakers players, commenting on the Instagram post. They weren't agreeing with it. They were like, this is not cool.
No, because it's like, do I leave? And then as soon as I come back, instead of being like, thanks for doing all that stuff for us, all of a sudden I'm a pussy. What's that about? You know what I mean?
The Breakers, they've been on form this year. Their social media has been great besides this as well. And it did come to bite them in the back because they lost 92-84. Corey Webster got 26 points.
Yeah, good on you, man.
Yeah, player of the game as well. Basically proved a point.
And
That's
good on him.
Good players. Not that Corey is a particularly amazing. He's a scorer, and when he gets hot, he is unstoppable. But good players can step up in moments like that when you have to prove a point. And the fact that he did that, I admire him a bit more than I used to after doing that.
Do you think it would be a fair statement, probably this one for you, Keezy, to put a photo up of ex-benchwarmer Storm Hitoa comparing him to a pussy on the billboard? Would that be an acceptable thing for us to do on our social media? Or
It depends. Like, the Breakers are doing that sort of stuff because they're winning at the moment.
Oh, we're not.
So would you clarify us right now as winning? You know what I mean? Especially with you at the helm today. So it's about getting Ben Boyce back, getting back into our rhythms and our structures and things. Then we start thinking about the funny posts. You know
what about
I mean?
a post, Andrew Mulligan, his face next to it?
Oh, I'm not messing with Moles.
Okay,
Hell no.
sweet. Yeah,
no, I
probably
spent way too much time with him.
Probably the best idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an exciting thing to happen from the NBL. I think the Breakers, they're still top of the league, right?
Yeah, I believe so, and they're still playing very, very well. So hopefully that continues for the rest of the season.
Chris, have you been following the Breakers?
I have.
So, because I used to follow them closely when I worked in sports media. I don't anymore, so I haven't watched a single game, and it just so happens that they're winning this year. What's the difference? Is it all the imports they've got, or they just nailed their recruitment?
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. They've basically put on a whole new team. They're defending this year, which is something they weren't doing last year. They were bottom of the league in defense last year, and at the moment, I believe they're leading the league or one of the top two teams in that stat. And, when you're defending, when you're rebounding, and basically putting the shots in at the other end, it makes a big difference, eh?
Well, there you go.
Score points, win games.
Would you chalk it up to, is it Modi, the former assistant coach?
Yeah, Modi has done a lot of good things with this team, and it looks like the guys really respect him and really vibe with his over-enthusiastic approach to it. I think we can call it that.
Well, there you go. See, Joel, what that was a nice little back and forth basketball discussion.
Yeah, thanks, man. Man. We don't want to get too basketball for this podcast, though. Let's move to the NBA, though. It has been a crazy week in the NBA, and on Saturday, New Zealand time, one of the biggest games was the Lakers taking down the Bucks 133 to 129, and it was a stonker, probably the stonker of the round. Do you think the Mad Monday sound?
That's a great
that's a word I haven't heard for a long time.
Probably
stonker.
The stonker of the round. And you had Giannis blocking King James, Anthony Davis putting up bloody PlayStation numbers, 2K numbers. Did you see this game, Chris?
I didn't see this game, but I saw the box score, and I think that told me everything I needed to know about the game.
Yeah. Keezy, did you watch it?
Look, I didn't watch it either because there's 18 games of NBA on every single day for 8 months of the year, you know. So, but I do have Anthony Davis in my fantasy basketball league, who was the number one player in fantasy basketball, and everyone laughed, AD. But what I like here is you've got LeBron, who used to be able to carry teams, will them into the playoffs, you know. He is still a very good player. He can't do that anymore. I think Anthony Davis has just gone, holy shit, I'm 7 foot and amazing. Maybe I should try doing that. And he has stepped up his game, which I love.
Yeah. It's only taken him how many years to get to that realization? Like, we all thought he was going to be this player when he came into the league.
Yeah.
And that was, what, 8 years ago maybe?
Well, and he landed at the Pelicans, and they were in a rough state when he was there. They were terrible. And then he won the championship with the Lakers, which was great. And then the year after, obviously injuries, blah, blah, taper off, post-championship hangover, I don't know. And then all of a sudden he's like, wait, I don't just want to go through my career now being crap again. And he's just like, something's unleashed within him, Joel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he scored 44 points, 10 rebounds. And then the next game, he comes out 55 17 rebounds, 3 blocks.
And it's like 15 of 18 shooting or something stupid like that. And he hits all his free throws as well. Anthony Davis, absolute freak.
So do you guys think that Anthony Davis... Sorry, Anthony is not good. No.
Anthony Davis, come on, man.
Anthony Davis. I did call him Anthony Davis last week, and he has only missed 2 games this season, I think it is. So, do you think he could be the MVP if he carries this on?
I mean, if he keeps putting up numbers like he is at the moment and the Lakers win some games, definitely.
Well, he just had, 99 points in 2 games.
Yeah.
Absolutely, he should be in the discussion for MVP. It's just whether or not you can get 99 points in 2 games if you've got a moon boot on. You know, so that's the thing he's fighting against. Can he stay healthy? He likes to play through his injuries nowadays, which is good. But I hope so, man, because MVP would be one like you'd never have thought that Anthony Davis would be in the MVP discussion playing with LeBron. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, and we're a quarter into the season. I've seen the MVP leaderboard at the moment. I think he's about 6th. You got Luka up there, Giannis, and Tatum at the moment.
Yep.
Taking it. If you were to make like a prediction right now, a quarter away for the season, who would you guys say?
Like, based on results so far, like how the season's gone, right now you have to give it to Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
I mean, he's improved so much from when he came into the league, and you just look at what the Celtics are doing. I think they've only lost a few games.
Yeah, and that's without Robert Williams as well.
Exactly.
They've got Al Horford, who's like $1 million guarding the paint too.
When Robert Williams comes back, it's going to be a tough team to beat.
Yeah. Honestly, I would go Anthony Davis because the Lakers were on such a losing skid, and now they have won. So the last results are like win, loss, win, loss, win. You know, like they've completely flipped the script on this season, and it's because of Anthony Davis. So right now the storyline to me is like, oh, AD's back, baby.
Yeah, but where in the standings are they?
Oh, no.
They're still like 10th in the
Chris,
West, right?
We don't like to get bogged down in like things like standings, you know what I mean? But I can just see it. The trajectory is good, and I can see the future ESPN 30 for 30 documentary about how AD saved the Lakers.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of people low in the standings, the Spurs, they had a decent start to the year because a lot of people thought they were going to be the worst team by a long shot. Their coach, Pop, he was saying, do not bet on us this year. You don't want to back us. But they've lost 11 straight in a row now, and it appears they might be putting in an early tank for that number 1 draft spot. And Chris, I know you said before you support Orlando. That's your team. So them two could be tanking to get a good draft spot.
As per usual.
Yeah, the old tank off.
Yeah.
Every year for Orlando, it's a great watch.
What do you think about the tank off at the moment? How's that going?
Oh, it's always fun. I think the teams at the bottom of the league probably started the year playing too well. I mean, look at the Utah Jazz. They should not have been winning as many games as they were.
I think they've only won 2 out of the last 10.
Yeah, so they've started as well.
Reality
so keep
is
an eye on them.
I think that the tank off isn't, because it always starts happening sort of after the All-Star break is when they really start obviously tanking. And the thing that the Spurs are doing really well is they're not tanking. They just have a garbage side. Like, it's just super young. Their best players, Yak and Pirtle. You know what I mean? Like, so they just are going, look, full development, full young guys. We're playing the best guys we've got. Pop's coaching them as well as he can. They can't win. That's because we just don't have the side for it. They're tanking, like, smartly, I think. Because you can't say, oh, you're not playing your guys, because they're all playing. You know, Keldon Johnson, etc.
Yeah, I actually found a website called Tankathon where it sort of gives you a bit of a 2023 NBA draft lottery simulator.
Tankathon, was it?
Tankathon, yeah.
What were you searching for? Did you misspell one of the...
No, I saw one of my NBA knowledgeable friends put me onto it, and it's probably the smartest thing I've ever read in terms of NBA.
All right.
But it looks like at the moment Orlando, Detroit, San Antonio, Charlotte, and Houston are the 5 teams who really could have a good shot at getting that number 1 spot.
I love it how Charlotte, Detroit, and Orlando are just always there. Like, when are you guys finishing your rebuild, man? This is the slowest rebuild in history.
Imagine if Detroit compare Cade Cunningham with Victor. Like, that would be insane.
Yeah. But I think also the way the lottery works, though, like when Zion went to the Pelicans, they didn't have the highest chance of getting Zion. So you tank, you piss off your fans, you throw away a whole season, and then you're probably going to lose it anyway because fate is just, you know.
I think they had a 1% chance of getting that number 1 spot when they did, and they
did. Exactly.
They pulled it out of the bag, which is sick. As an Orlando fan, Chris, what would it mean to get that number 1 spot and get old Victor in the lineup?
Well, I think anyone would be fizzing to get him in the lineup, but like personally, I don't really know how he fits. You're just going to have the biggest starting lineup you've ever seen, and it's just not going to work. I mean, they've already got the big gangly guy in Bobo.
And Mo Bamba.
Yeah, Mo Bamba's there.
They've got Paolo Banchero pretty much running point guard. So you'd have to have him at point guard and then have like Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter Jr., old Wembanyama,
Wemby.
Him, Bol,
Wemby.
and you just roll out like a 7-foot lineup.
To be fair,
it'd just
though,
be weird.
Well, you guys are going to lose anyway, so you may as well, have a bit of fun.
Might as well look good doing it.
Exactly.
there's a couple of other draft prospects though. You got Scoot Henderson. Have you seen much about him, Chris?
No.
Oh, he's like a little point guard, shooting guard guy, and I feel like he's going to be a very good number 2 as well.
Did you get this on Tankathon?
I did find this on. No, I saw him playing against Wemby in some random match, but he does look very, very good, especially if you're looking for a short person as well. So
a lot of teams are looking for short people. They're like, oh, man, we need some short people.
We need some 5'6" in the lineup.
Yeah. But Wembanyama, though, I mean, as a prospect, he is amazing. And his highlights were, I think he played a game on ESPN or something. That's why his highlights and that other fella he was playing against were on there as well.
Yeah.
Just the ball handling, the KD, the KD handles, the shooting, the court vision and stuff. He is a mean prospect. His only thing is going to be that whole, he's massive, he's long, and he's skinny, and he'll get beaten up down low. He needs to put on some muscle.
Well, there was like the same talk around Chet Holmgren coming into this season, like how would his body fare at the NBA level, and he's already missing the season because of injuries.
Exactly.
So that's another thing you have to be concerned about with those gigantic young players.
And I was watching a thing on YouTube, but late at night, it's just such a smart thing, watching some like YouTube hype reels about stuff, about Wembanyama. And it was like the only other guys in the league who are his height are Boban, Kristaps Porzingis, and there was like a couple others, and it's like, and then these are the people in history who have been his height. These are the people in history who have been his height, who have had their careers cut short by injury, and it was like 80% of them gone. You've got Kristaps left over. Boban hardly plays. And Kristaps is mean when he's healthy. He's having a good run this year, but it's like staying on the court's going to be the biggest thing.
It does look like he's one leg tackle away from breaking them both as well at all times.
Thank God he's not in a sport where leg tackling is...
Yeah. Moving on, we got Kyrie this week. Nike dropped him as an athlete after the comments. He's been someone providing the Benchwarmers with a lot of content over the last month or so.
Especially Ben Boyce, yeah.
Ben Boyce, who is
loving it.
He's a big fan of Kyrie as well. He was a little bit gutted that he has been let go from Nike. He sold all his Nike gear when he heard the news.
Yeah.
But they've brought in Ja Morant. It looks like he could be the new signature athlete, the new face of Nike and stuff.
Oh my God, that is such an upgrade. It's like you're looking for an excuse because Kyrie was the man. Uncle Drew was the man. Winning a championship with LeBron was awesome. He's not the man anymore. He sucks. Like, he's so punishing when you hear about him, Chris. But Ja Morant, he is now the man.
Oh, Ja Morant is amazing. I got to see him live a couple of weeks ago playing against New Orleans.
Awesome.
God, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you just sit there and marvel at what he's doing.
He's flying through the air. So that's an upgrade, in my opinion, massive upgrade.
Absolutely, yeah. Everyone loves Ja Morant.
Yeah.
Also, a massive upgrade of credibility on the podcast. We talked about it a bit before. So you went to America.
I did, yeah. I was over there to cover the UFC and made a bit of a trip of it.
What games, NBA games, did you see?
Just the Pelicans against the Grizzlies and the Bulls the night after.
Is it like crazy watching Ja play in person?
It was.
Was it Ja v Zion v...
Nah, see, I was hoping it would be Ja v Zion, but Zion sat both games that I went to, and then I think he was back in the lineup the next game. So
Did you have
I was pretty annoyed at that.
Brandon Ingram, or, because they got such a
Brandon
great
Ingram
young team?
was there. Basically everyone but Zion. So it was a good watch.
I mean, that sounds great.
We actually had the debate last week, Zion versus Ja. If you could pick one as a first-round pick back in 2019 or whatever it was, who would you choose? Who would you, if you had your choice now?
Well, like hindsight, it's beautiful, right?
It is, yeah.
Right now, you probably take Ja, but I mean, back then, the obvious choice was Zion. Everyone was tanking for Zion.
Yeah,
So,
his highlight reels.
Yeah, at that point, you can't not take Zion at one.
And as I said last week, it's still so early. Who knows? Like, Zion could still be a beast. He still every now and then puts up these big numbers. Ja's doing it on a regular basis, but once Zion figures it out, he could be an absolute animal.
Sweet. Another character who we thought was going to be like a massive, giving us content every week in the podcast was Draymond Green. He started it off when we first did the first episode of the podcast is when he punched Jordan Poole in the face, and now he's back. He's back in the highlight. I feel like he's kind of laid low this season, but he's back sharing his thoughts on what many people think is the GOAT, Michael Jordan.
By 2005, Brown was the best player in the NBA. In 2020, he was still the best player in the NBA. He was the best player in the NBA no matter what the game did. The game went from two slugs, like slow big men, to like a stretch four big man, to like back to two big men, to like no big man.
Me and you out there playing the phone
and he's been the best.
Draymond Green has always shared that he loves LeBron. He's a massive LeBron fan. What do you make of this, Keezy, yourself?
Well, sorry, I just had to burp there. I love Michael Jordan. I grew up, as a kid, though, I wasn't as massive into basketball as I am now, and I just knew Michael Jordan was the greatest basketballer on earth. You watch Space Jam, you're like, oh my God, he must be the best player ever. Whereas living through the LeBron James era of the NBA has just been an absolute marvel and the fact that he is in there while everyone else in his draft class is long retired, for me, it's LeBron. Just because I've witnessed the whole thing. I witnessed him go 3-1 down in the playoffs and come back to win, put his sunglasses and his headphones on, look like a badass in that meme there. Like, I saw all that stuff. And I massively admired Draymond Green, who I actually thought he was a massive prick up until I heard that. I love the fact that he is pro LeBron, even though he's faced him so many times in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jordan, you have to factor in the whole popularizing the NBA around the world, and Space Jam obviously played a big part for us 90s kids growing up, seeing that and being like, oh, this guy's amazing. I like to throw Bill Russell in the mix as well. I think it's hard to have
the winningest player of all time.
Yeah. hard to have a GOAT conversation without the guy who's got 11 rings and was a player coach in the last one. Yeah. But I agree with everything Draymond said there. LeBron is amazing, has always been amazing, and will probably still be amazing when he's retiring.
I also don't really care right now if someone was like, okay, it's official, Michael Jordan is the GOAT, LeBron is second. I wouldn't care. I'd still be like, that's great. I still got to watch LeBron, yeah. I don't really care who's the best out of the two. I just like to be pro LeBron because I love watching him play.
No rumor. LeBron James, 907 points off being the highest scoring person of all time.
Right.
Is that just a completely incorrect fact? I think that could be true.
I mean, it's a fact that's very hard to look up online. Who is the highest scoring player of all time? It's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt about it, LeBron's going to overtake that because he's sticking around for another few years. I can still see him playing. The way he's playing this year, even though he's getting a few injuries and stuff, LeBron's hanging around for a while.
Do you reckon he hangs around just long enough to beat that record and then he's just like, sweet, I'm done?
Nah. I reckon he just keeps going until he literally can't get signed anymore. Like, Udonis Haslem's still technically playing in the league. He plays 2 minutes.
He guarded Jason Tatum the other day.
Exactly. He's still got it, and he's a good team guy. I think if Haslem is a team guy right now and LeBron is, 38, 39, and is still...
37.
37. Oh, yeah. Oh my God. Benjamin Button, he's aging backwards. This is great. He's still got... The way he's playing, he's the second best player on the Lakers still. He's still got, I reckon, another 5 years of still playing regular court time. How's that for a bold claim?
That's a bold
Jesus.
claim, and 900 points to go. That's like 40 games, so he could even take it off this season, potentially.
So I'm trying to do some math. Is that 40
Yeah,
games?
I was
If he
like,
scores
I
25.
can't do math that
Yeah,
fast.
that's 40 games. He scores about 25.
Oh, yeah,
So-
he can do that.
Yeah, well, that rounds up the starting five for this week. We're going to come back after a break with a bit of fantasy chat, stat bunker, and some alley-oops. Welcome back to the ACC's Benchwarmer podcast, coming to you from the Export Beer Garden studio. Keezy and Chris Reive from the NZ Herald are joining me, and it's time for a bit of fantasy chat.
Hey there, what's your fantasy?
Sorry, fantasy basketball? Yeah, basketball.
Yeah, so if you've never listened to the Benchwarmers podcast before, that is our sting. And also, we do have our own team. It is a keepers league in the Shapiro's league, I believe it is. And we're currently sitting 5-0 last week, and we handed the reins over to producer Adam. How do we go this week, Adam?
I'm going to be honest, no one really handed any reins over. I realised a day or two afterwards that we'd done nothing, which is definitely, it makes sense since we were 5-0.
Well, I mean, Joel barely had the reins last week.
Yeah,
He forgot
that
to
is
even
true.
set the team until the second to last day. So, yeah, it's not your fault, Adam.
Yeah. So I just did the right thing and I just each day everyone played and we smoked someone else and we're now 6-0. And yeah.
So I'm really happy for you guys because you guys started this. Next season, I'm joining this season and I'm having a rogue team and I'm going to make sure you guys do not go 6-0. You're going to be meeting up with Keezy once. How many people are in there?
8.
Once every 8 weeks, you'll be meeting me and I'll be kicking your ass, hopefully.
Big words.
We did
fighting
have a very good draft, and the team seems seriously stacked. I'm not sure how I think you need to keep 2 players under the age of 23 as well. So I'm not
is that
sure.
how it works?
I believe that's one of the rules. So I'm not sure how it's going to roll into next year, but at the moment it's going very well. And I guess, do you want to take the lead this week, Keezy, or do you want me to take it? Should we just leave it?
I
Should
don't
we
want
just
to
keep it?
borrow this team. This is disgusting. I'm happy for you guys, absolutely dominating out there, but I just worry that right now, Adam and you and Ben Boyce, and now Chris, you as well, unfortunately, you're just sitting back going, man, we're mean at fantasy basketball.
We are great. Well,
I've been out here getting L's for years, like a decade of winning once and getting 9 L's, man. I know what it's really like out there. It's tough, and you shouldn't just be able to glide along and not even set your team and get wins. That's where Keezy comes in. He comes in and he smokes you guys next season.
in my own fantasy at the moment, I am 6-1, so sitting second in the league as well. Probably just throw it out there, but I feel like I'm going for a tough time because there's some serious injuries. I had Cat go down. Allen's been down for me for so long. Maxie's been down for so long.
Yeah.
Ja Morant misses every second game. SGA was out for a few games. It's kind of at that point of fantasy where it's starting to slog it out.
You forget how punishing it is with all the injuries.
Yeah. How did you play at fantasy yourself, Chris?
Yeah, I do. It's not going well this season. It's going pretty
So
poorly.
talk us through who you got. Who are your sort of your crown jewels in the collection there?
Well, so my team is in a little bit of a rebuild this year. We play a keeper league where you keep one superstar and then one very low drafted player from the year before. It's
Right.
a little bit complicated in that sense. And I based my team around Joel Embiid, who is always injured. Just traded him recently. I'm now building on Cade Cunningham, who's
Injured.
currently broken.
And so what's wrong with him? Do we even know?
I think it's a shin issue.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so that's not great. And I drafted Chris Paul, always out.
What, the 38-year-old dude who's always
Kawhi
injured?
Leonard, always out.
Yeah.
I went big on Kawhi Leonard because I assumed he was coming back healthy. He's played every third game or something.
He's played 6 games
I've
all
since
up.
dropped him.
Yeah.
And now he's coming right again. So, yeah, it's just not my year, eh?
You dropped Kawhi Leonard. Do you have an IR spot, an injury spot?
Yeah, and that was filled with Chris Middleton all season.
Oh.
And now Cade Cunningham's in there. So it's been a mess.
What you've done is what I am very well known for doing, which is you draft a whole lot of guys. Last year I had Gordon Hayward, Paul George, all these guys who were so injury prone. And then secretly I was like, I want to put Robert Williams on my IR spot or something. You know what I mean? Not even thinking about the fact that I just drafted a group of guys who are injury prone, and having someone on the IR spot is really dumb. That was Jaren Jackson. He came back, got injured a month later, and was back on the IR spot. Meanwhile, all my dudes pretty much were just riddled with COVID, and so if you're drafting injury-prone guys, if you're taking the risk like you did with Kawhi, do not stash Chris Middleton on your IR spot. You just can't afford to.
I wasn't expecting him to be out as long as he was. And
Yeah.
by the time it got to, I was like, okay, he's going to be out a while. I was like, well, now I'm losing anyway, so
Yeah.
why bother?
one thing that I did, and I'm very, and I'm bringing it up on this podcast for a reason that it will soon become known to you guys. I made a buy low offer for the first time in my life that actually worked really well. I had Jordan Clarkson. The Jazz were winning. Old George there, he was starting. He was getting 25 and 5 every game, looking real good. Anthony Edwards was having a shocker there for about a week, and I sent a trade off. Do you want Jordan Clarkson? He's playing good right here, right now. Give me Anthony Edwards. I'll take him off your hands. Don't let him bring your team down. Traded him to me. He in his last 2 games he had like 11 steals and 60 points or something. Like this dude is cooking now. And the person I traded him to was Storm Hito.
Oh.
So
has he got a win yet in his
no?
team?
So he drafted your bullshit team and is winning in that league, and he hasn't won a single game in our league. And he's accepting trades like Anthony Edwards for Jordan Clarkson. But the moral of the story is always send, even though it's punishing, send those buy low offers. You know what I mean? Because you never know how frustrated someone might be.
Yeah. How are you going in this league at the moment for yourself?
I'm coming third.
Not bad.
Not bad. But I've got guys like Brandon Ingram, who's got a toe sprain. A couple of old Chris's useless point guards, Markel Fultz and Jalen Suggs, who are just taking turns at not playing. Wiggins has decided he's got a groin injury. And AD's been carrying my team. He's been insane. And I picked up also Kyle Anderson, who's sort of replaced Cat and is playing 30 minutes. He'll get you 6 points, but he'll get you 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. That's what you want, a nice full line.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going pretty good.
I was talking to Ben Boyce,
You're joking.
the other guy on this podcast.
Yeah. John and Ben.
Yeah, John and Ben, and he was saying he was playing James McConey in their league this week, and he lost. He lost.
To McConey.
He lost by 1 turnover as well.
Oh no,
that's rough.
McConey's one you always want to beat McConey because
I know, yeah,
he's got the trash talk.
He's commissioning the league, and it sounds very corrupt. And, let's move on to the stat bunker.
Stat of the round.
Yeah, I've been looking at stats this round, and turnovers have been a big thing. Yesterday, Jalen Green, who's a great player, plays for the Rockets, he gave away 8 turnovers, which absolutely killed him in fantasy. But there was quite an interesting one because Tyrese Halliburton, who is just the best passer, best assister in the league at the moment, he was the first person to ever do it, 3 games in a row, 40 assists, 0 turnovers.
Total 40. No, he did have 3 games of 40 assists.
No, 3 games, total 40 assists, which is still incredible.
Is he the new point guard? Because it was Chris Paul for a long, long time when he was playing for my Clippers. He'd get 20 and 20 and 0 turnovers or something. Tyrese Halliburton, he looks the goods. That is an amazing stat. 0 turnovers.
0 turnovers. Also another one, Russell Westbrook, his first ever game of 2 0 turnovers in a row.
That's awesome for us, but just back to Halliburton real quick. He's also playing on a really shit team. So he's not lobbing it to Blake Griffin, like Chris Paul was. He is playing with some trash out there. That is really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the trade to bring him over, you lose Sabonis. Which
shame,
for the Pacers, I mean, that doesn't really matter too much.
He's terrible on defense anyway, Sabonis, you know what I mean? Like, they've got Miles Turner. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, and you look at how the Kings are going as well. Like that seems to be one of those very rare, mutually beneficial trades.
They're both sitting at 5th in their leagues in the conferences at the moment.
Yeah.
And they were probably 2 teams that were like looking like they weren't going to make the finals for either. So yeah,
I do predict that the Kings will fall off massively because that's what they do.
I think so.
But on Westbrook though, I hate NBA fans. And he sucked at shooting for a long time with Westbrook, obviously. And the way they get on Paul George, and there's certain players they get on and they just. But I am so happy to see him on the bench playing awesome again with LeBron. I'm really happy for Westbrook, even though he's a multi-$100 millionaire. He doesn't need me to feel happy for him, but I do anyway.
It seems like every week as well, Basketball Forever on Instagram, it seems like they propose another trade. They're like, oh, Miami's keen.
I don't follow them, yeah.
They do. They tear it up a lot. But turnovers shows how important they are. That's the stat bunker for this round.
That's amazing. Chris, are you a Westbrook fan?
Not like I wouldn't call myself a Westbrook fan. I do feel sorry for him sometimes because one bad game and he cops shit for a week or 2. So it's really good to see him actually playing well again. He's never been a shooter.
No,
scoring shouldn't be what you base things on for him, despite the fact he likes to play hero ball in the last 2 minutes of a close game.
That's his issue there, yeah. That's his issue.
Hey, let's move on to the alley-oops of the round.
It's the big alley. Ooh, it's not the one, It's not the one.
This week, the first alley-oops of the round was Jalen Green, as I mentioned before, the young gun for the Rockets, who had 8 turnovers yesterday And there was a moment in the final seconds of double overtime. He got like an awesome turnover, an awesome steal, and it went down the whole court. And then instead of just putting it up and completely like wiping the game away, they did win in the end. But he went for an alley-oop, and it was a shocker.
No fouls on threes either. Harden lost the handle. Picked up by Green. Green to the rim. He was going to... you didn't know. Oh, my God. The Rockets still have the ball against Daniel House.
Did either of you catch this one yesterday?
Sound like no one caught that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the clip online. This is one of the most explosive young players in the league. Why isn't he going down and throwing up like a windmill dunk or something?
That's because he is a young, and that's the thing, is he's a young player. It's exciting. He got the steal. Just slam the ball, like any experienced player has done that enough times to know not to do that. And no, to answer your question, no, I don't regularly watch Houston Rockets highlights on my Instagram. So.
Yeah, and that was actually it was a very good game. They ended up winning 132 to 123 in double overtime, but up until about a minute ago, it was a tied game, and Harden just couldn't get the 76ers there.
Was it his first game back, Harden? I think it was. Yeah,
it was. Yeah, but
Rusty.
It was like, they should have been passing to. It was like, why were they not passing to him every single time they were going down the court? It was, it seems like there's a few things going wrong there at the moment. And another thing from that game as well, Garuba from the Rockets, he had a very... Garuba, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
He had a shocker. He had an absolutely shocking miss, and Yeah, another shocker from the Rockets there. It's surprising they got a win. But,
that was against Philly, right?
Same game.
So Usman Garuba, he played 6 minutes, he got 1 rebound, and he was 0 of 1 shooting. I guess that counted as a shot.
Do you reckon the coach just pulled him straight away after that?
I don't know. All I know is that if you're playing fantasy and you've got a center named Alperen Şengün playing for the Rockets, you are pulling your hair out because they keep giving Garuba, or they keep giving him minutes over him. They keep putting Fernando, whatever his name is, in as well. It's an absolute disaster zone there.
Yeah, and also the final alley-oops from this week for me would be Trae Young. He's having a bit of a fallout with his coach at the moment. Did either of you guys see this?
No.
Yeah, I saw that it was reported he basically got told, play off the bench or don't play.
Yeah.
And so he chose not to play. He's come out either last night or today and basically said there's more to the story than that. You guys don't know the full story, kind of hit back at a reporter. So it's kind of hard to know what's going on there, but not what you want to see when you're an Atlanta fan and this is your biggest player.
Yeah, and they feel like they have a good thing going this year as well. They got the DeJounte Murray playing amazing for them as well. They're coming fourth at the moment, so you really hope they can sort things out because you never want a mishap with the boss and yourself, Keezy.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, hey, anything else from you guys from this week of NBA?
No, I just hope AD keeps balling. He's literally just started, as we were recording this, started a fresh game. I'm hoping to see him put up another 50 points and carry me to a big win.
What do you guys make of travel calls at the moment? I don't know if you caught that Warriors-Mavs game the other day, but there were so many travels called, and it really slowed things down. A lot of the travels were actually travels, but as fans of the game, do you want to see those calls made, or a little bit of leniency in there?
The problem is you can't have a thing in the NBA. They call it a gather step, which you're not allowed to do in any FIBA tournaments, where you've got this mystery half a step, which is such a grey area. And if a ref decides they're going to just crack down a wee bit on it, it does result in what's happening now, like a shitload of calls. I think if it looked pretty sweet, you know what I mean? You get a vibe for it, but once you tell the refs to get a vibe for it, you're pretty much screwed. So it's a real tough one. I reckon we just change the travel rule so you can have 3 steps.
It's probably why LeBron's not having the best year this year because he's got through his whole career traveling.
Here we go. He's one of these guys.
Yeah, so you're a MJ, pro MJ,
3-step Bron. Are you serious?
No, I'm joking. I think LeBron's
this is the guy that said Data Davis last week that he shot 99 points.
Hey, well that is yeah. No, thank you very much for coming on the podcast today, Chris and Keezy. Always a pleasure. Thank you for coming back. That's this week for the ACC's Benchwarmers, and we'll see you back here same time, same place, or probably back on Tuesday actually next week.